Nice little starter here if you want the solution. 9 animals arranged in 3 rows of 3. By drawing 3 squares, can you separate them all? What I would do is I would do something like this, okay? And if I did a square on the outside, like that, it's captured all these ones here, and then just finally my third square is something like that. That's pretty good. Okay, so this video clip is created to enable my students to tackle scattergraph questions and box plot questions at GCSE. Let's work through an example of a scattergraph GCSE question. What we can see is we've got a scatter graph that shows for a number of cars the distance that they travel on 1 litre related to their engine size. So for example, this one here is a car with an engine size of 1 litre, and on 1 litre of petrol it travels 16 kilometres. And let me just choose another one. You can see this one here is a 4 litre engine, and on 1 litre of petrol it travels just over 7 kilometres. Okay, so let's work through. Now, if you see a scatter graph question, and it will look like this with a number of x's plotted over there related to 2 variables, the first thing you should do, even if it doesn't ask you to do this, is draw what's called a line of best fit. Okay, it is a straight line, and if it's possible, going through the centre of mass, following the pattern that these x's have been plotted. So you can see that there's a rough line that goes through. Now, don't lose too much sleep over your straight line line of best fit, because everyone's will be slightly different. A good rule is to have as many x's above the line as you have below the line, and just make sure that your line is following the pattern, like this. Okay, so line of best fit, you can see I've got a number of x's that are away from my line. If you have any x's that are just way out, we call those anomalies, and just don't lose any sleep over them. You'll generally see a pattern. Now, let's go to the first question. What type of correlation does this scatter graph show? So what's it showing? Basically, it's showing is that as the engine size increases on the car, the distance that the car travels on 1 litre of petrol decreases. So from left to right, you can see that our pattern goes downwards from left to right. Okay, that's called a negative correlation. So a negative correlation. Had the line gone upwards, upward positive gradient from left to right, like this, then this would be called a positive correlation. Correlation is just a posh word for relationship. It means that if it was positive in this case, it would mean that as the engine size increased, then the distance travelled on 1 litre of petrol would also increase. But we know that that's not the case with this question. So part B then, it's quite typical for a scatter graph question. It says a different car of the same type has an engine size of 2.5 litres. 2.5 litres. Estimate the distance travelled on 1 litre of petrol by this car. Now there are 2 marks available. Now if we hadn't done the line of best fit, even though it doesn't explicitly say it, you are losing one of those marks. Okay, so you've got to be really careful. Line of best fit drawn. What we do is we find 2.5 on here, and we draw a vertical line up until it hits our line of best fit, and then we read horizontally off to find our value. And I can do that roughly by eye, But in marking schemes for GCSE, it is looking for a vertical line going up and horizontally where you're reading off and give your answer. So let's do that. So 2.5, going vertically up, hit my line, come horizontally across, and I read that as approximately 11 kilometres, but on mine, I would say probably about 10.8 kilometres. Okay, and there's room for error in the marking schemes as long as you're showing the lines that you're reading off, and indeed you have your line of best fit. Let's very quickly work through a box plot question. Box plots normally follow cumulative frequency graph questions because the key information that you need for a box plot to be completed falls out of cumulative frequency graph, and I'm talking about the lower quartile and the upper quartile in particular. But sometimes, and rarely, you get a question like this, which has a string of numbers, data collection, and we can express that as a box plot as well. So let's work through this, and then it should enable you to do both types of question, as long as you can do cumulative frequency graphs as well. So you might need to refer back to a previous clip of mine on how to complete a cumulative frequency graph. Okay, so the information I need to complete a box plot is the lowest value, the highest value, what's called the lower quartile, the upper quartile, and finally, and I'll just do this on the side, the median. Okay, so some of these are straightforward, so I can see that the smallest value, these are already done into ascending order. If they weren't in ascending order, that would be the first step that you would have to do, is write them going from smallest to largest. So the lowest value is 5, so I can write that straight in. Lowest value is 5, and I can see the biggest value is 44. 2 key bits of information straight away. Now the next bit I would work out is the median, and 2 ways of doing it. One is you could work your way from the outside like this until you get to the middle value. Okay, and you can see that the median is 25. Now, a quicker way of finding the median position is if there are 15 people expressed in that data collection, add 1, that will give 16, half it gives 8, 8 is the position of the median. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so it's quite easy to find it from that. Now, the lower quartiles, if the median is the middle, the lower quartile sounds like the lower quarter, and it kind of is. So if I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers in my data to the left of my median, then it's the middle one of those numbers. So I could do the same again. You could cross them out until I get to the middle. So the lower quartile being 14, and then do the same on the other side. So you've got median here. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers to the right in my data collection from the median, and it's the middle one of those. Okay, so and it's 30. Okay, so I've got all the information I need to complete my box plot. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my lowest and my highest values. They're the ends of my whiskers of my box plot. If you don't know what that looks like, I'll show you now. Okay, so that's my end bits of my box plot, my whiskers done. Now I'm going to put the median in, and that's 25. Okay, so that's in place. Now the lower quartile and upper quartile. Okay, so they're all in place. You can see I've got my lowest, my highest, the median, the upper quartile, and the lower quartile. Now these three are going to create a box, okay, like this, and you just extend a line out to the end of the whiskers. Okay, and that's an example of a box plot. I could probably done a little bit better than that, but let me tidy it up a bit. And the box plot is completed.